Wheaton Park District Board of Commissioners to order. Mike, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaft.
Here.
Commissioner Schobel.
Here.
Commissioner Morrow.
Here.
Commissioner Meany.
Here.
Commissioner Fiewiger. President Kelly.
Yeah, here. First item, community business. Has anybody signed up?
I do not believe so.
Anybody here that wants to address the board? Okay, let's move to the consent agenda. I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? You might take the roll, please.
Commissioner Vanderschaft.
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel.
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Meany.
Yes.
Commissioner Fiewiger.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Unfinished business, adult education program fees.
I can yield the floor to either Ray or Kim with the Policy Review Committee. As a preamble, we recommended a tabling of the adult ed fees for a review of the fees and charges policy. Subsequent to that, the policy subcommittee met, and their minutes of their meeting are in front of you, and the recommendation is there. Ray or Kim, did you want to add anything? Our recommendation is simply to leave the non-resident rate as it stands, and the subcommittee recommends a review of the program area as it relates to the social safety net type of programs. Is that our role, or are we recreation, leisure time, education? And I think an approach analysis is what they're looking for the board to agree, and they're willing to head that up to determine whether the rate of what we charge non-residents should be looked at, or if we should look at actually what we're offering in relationship to those efforts. The bottom line is the recommendation comes from, the recommendation from staff was to eliminate the non-resident rate. The subcommittee believes that the equity issue for taxpayers renders that concept one they can't support.
Yeah.
So the recommendation was for these adult education, and I think what we want to do, and that Ray and I discussed with Mike, is looking at this program holistically, rather than piecemeal to see what we can pull out of it and how we can try and increase participation in certain segments of it. We'd like to look at everything overall and see how that fits into what the district should be doing.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Kim said and what Mike said, that we're not recommending any action at this point in time. Not to decrease the non-resident fee, but to take a look at the total program and see how it works within our responsibilities.
Anybody else? Were there minutes done to that subcommittee meeting?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, okay. Fine. Okay. So we don't need to take any action.
No,
We don't need to do a
any
vote.
action.
Okay, let's move on to the next piece of unfinished business. Project update and possible action on change order Central Athletic Center. You should have got an email this afternoon. We were trying to get it out yesterday, but we were waiting for Bergen to agree the amounts. We're right on the change order number 5, along with an update. Did you guys have a chance to check your email?
Yes.
I didn't bring copies. We actually emailed a copy of the change order, and we emailed, I emailed an update. We did not resolve all the change orders with Bergen. There's still 4 outstanding items that are going to take a little while for us to work out. So we got the architects and the engineers wrote letters of approval for the stuff that the prices were agreed upon, and we wrote change order number 5, which I signed, and after the board ratifies tonight, we'll pass out to Bergen for $34,601. And the projections for the total project, even if we pay some of Bergen's claims, will still be around 190 and change order. So we're still under that $200,000 mark that we told you guys before. I only have one copy.
Is this it, John?
That's the change order, yeah.
Yeah.
I emailed that. You should have got that in the. Did you
I'm
bring
sorry,
copies?
we distributed them. I was
Oh,
confused
that's
with
what I
what you were
said.
talking about.
Okay, did you distribute this too?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so you got it here tonight then, here on this. And I asked to have it emailed yesterday, but it didn't get emailed till today.
Okay.
But the meeting to work the stuff out didn't take place till last Friday, that's why it took, and I was out of town till Monday. So this gives you a recap, you can see we've got about 5 items that are still outstanding, one of them's a credit, and there's 4 other items. The item in yellow, we're still trying to work out who's doing what on some sidewalk work and, on the west side of the building. And the drawings that V3 prepared kind of showed it in both people's contracts, and meaning Bradford and our contractor's contract. We're trying to work out exactly who's gonna do what, we're taking credits from both. And we can't do that work till after Bradford finishes putting his sewer through the front anyway, which he started today, Rob? What? Yesterday. So Bradford's got a week's worth of site work, and then we'll be ready to start putting our sidewalks and parking lot back, as part of our contract. So we'll probably won't have the final change order until next month's meeting with the final numbers. Anybody have any other questions?
Move to
Okay,
approve
so-
that change order.
Okay, so we're moving to ratify change order number 5. Terry made a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Mark, any discussion? Okay, Mike, take the roll, please.
Commissioner Feuer,
Yes.
Commissioner Meade.
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow,
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel,
Yes.
Commissioner Vandershaft,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Mike, these are second.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to new business, action item recommendation for, to renew their natural gas contracts. And we're asking that that be tabled. Some new bid information came in from the consultant today.
Just today, so we need to.
And it's, so the pricing that we got in our memo is inaccurate, so they're gonna redo that, and it can wait till next month's meeting.
Yeah, we are June 1st renewal, so we have the month of May to look at our approach from a fixed or from a variable standpoint, which requires some additional dialogue as well.
Move to table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And on that topic, I know some people have some opinions on that, so if you wanna call me with your opinions on this, you know, we can either, we can start talking to Mike. I know I had some questions on whether or not we should be going fixed or not, and I looked up a bunch of 10-year historical data, and I wasn't sure that's the way I was gonna vote, so if you have questions, you wanna call me. If I have to have another special meeting or people involved wanna meet once on this, we can, but I've asked Mike to have staff run the numbers on what we would have spent had we just gone market rate the last couple of years versus the lock-in. And I gave Mike a spreadsheet I did of the rates for each month for the last 10 years, so we can do that comparison, so. If we just do 2 years worth, I just wanna see whether it's,
Yeah, and if I may add, historically, we have actually fixed a percentage of our total expected use, and then let a percentage be variable, typically in the vicinity of 50-50, 60-40, and then we would watch the market. The recommendation came from the consultant this time to do fixed for 12 months, but I think it's a good thing that we receive some updated cost information so we can take a step back and look at it. That's the good thing about bringing something up 2 or 3 months before it actually needs to be done. We can take an extra look.
anybody else? Okay, action item 2, recommendation to fill the vacant full-time position, assistant finance director.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Kim?
Rita, one of the main reasons you had listed here was this dual authority. And is that only for the wire transfers, or is that also for the member due collections?
It is for wire and all ACH, and member due is one of the ACHs that we do, one of several.
Okay, what other ACHs are we doing?
We do them going both ways. We do them for the 457 that's done from the payroll. We are just starting to roll it out for more vendors. We actually had our inaugural one today, so it's a good time. You get half. And it was very much a back and forth thing. I'm leaving one out, Kim, I'm sorry, right now I'm pulling blank. But the 457 is,
Parts plus.
yeah, which is what she had
Yeah.
started asking, yeah, those would be the 3.
Okay.
For the company.
How frequently are we running those? Because I think you listed this, that you felt you could not be away from your email because of this dual authority. So how frequently are we doing these?
Payroll is every 2 weeks. As the ACH get rolling out on the AP, that will be every week. The 457 is again the payroll, so that's every 2 weeks. And the memberships are twice a month. Once for the pre-notes and then the second time for the actual collection of monthly dues.
And that second authority needs to be someone in the finance department?
It needs to be somebody who doesn't have from an administrative and accounting control perspective, it needs to be someone who is not in a position to generate the checks, for instance. It needs to also be somebody who understands how to use the bank software, which is not rocket science, I mean, it could be taught. But they also need to understand what they are doing.
Okay. And that's going to reside in the finance, so I'm wondering, is that something that could be transferred, say, to a higher level authority instead of to someone lower down, if this position were not filled?
I'm at a loss to figure out in our organization what higher authority there is.
Well, could that be something that Mike could approve in your absence?
If I, may I read it? I think I certainly can, and that one issue related to reinstating the position is probably one that with some organizational effort, yeah, I could probably be that person. The crux of the matter is the district, with the size of the operation that we have and the fact that we manage the two not-for-profit bookkeeping efforts as well as the districts, this district needs two accountants. So it's not a matter of some of the individual details so much as it is that we need an assistant accountant, as it were. And Rita currently, with Tricia leaving, is our only accountant, our qualified trained person to deal with both sides of the ledger and fund accounting. So while certainly we can possibly argue away, and I think it's commendable to look at those things, an aspect of what this position will do, at the end of the day, my strong recommendation is this district needs a deep bench as it relates to accounting.
Any other thoughts on that, Rita?
I agree with everything Mike has said. It really is an issue that, right now, whenever there's an accounting question that comes up, I'm all there is. And we're a $30 million organization, and some of the history would suggest that I don't think we want, and I'm sure, and I know the board doesn't want, as evidenced by our finance committee, doesn't want to go into some of the problems that were previously in the financial records.
Problems that were caused by being a smaller staff?
I can't tell you whether they were from a smaller staff. I can only tell you that there were control issues when I came to the organization. But under Mike's guidance, those things have changed.
Okay, thank you.
So it's really a workload issue, basically, to get to the stuff on in a timely manner. My question is to Mike, that $65,000 salary, where are we in that? Is that mid-range, is that upper range, is it
That's
low range?
lower, that is lower than what the assistant finance director that left us was making.
The hiring range was 60 to 70 that we intend to post once the board approves the improvement.
You have somebody in mind?
I do not.
Unfortunately, no.
Rita, I have a question. One of Tricia's main jobs too was the budget and the audit, correct?
Was the capital element of the budget and the utilities, as well she did the finance department itself budget
Okay.
and the audit.
How much overtime did the audit take?
25 to 30% of her year,
That's what I thought. So,
yeah.
I mean, that alone almost justifies. Okay. Anybody else? Terry?
No, I'll just make a comment with, $30+ million budget. We can't afford not to have an assistant finance director.
Anybody else? I might take the roll, please.
Commissioner Vandershaft,
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrell,
Yes?
Commissioner Meany,
Yes.
Commissioner Fiewiger,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. New business item 3, bid results for the cheerleader uniforms. And I understand we have an update to those bid results, right?
If you want to get a motion in a second, the update has nothing to do with the recommendation or the outcome of this, but
I move to accept the bid from GTM Sportswear for cheerleading uniforms, including the shells, skirts, briefs, and body liners, in the amount of $17,600.
Second.
okay, under discussion, and I'll give this to you now, and like I said, it's not a material change to the recommendation. What occurred was, when we were moving offices, one bid packet did not get opened on the day of the bid opening. It is the Varsity Spirit Fashion that you see all the way to the right is the second highest bid, but in the interest of fairness to the vendor and just full disclosure, we had a missed bid packet. There's the information for the record. We would not have recommended this firm based on there being the second highest price of the 4 successful bidders. So,
Mike, do we open the bids in public?
yes.
So none of the people who bid, this company who turned in a bid, they obviously didn't come to the bid opening?
That's
Nobody
correct.
comes to these bid openings
Not
most
for
of the time?
cheerleading, no.
Okay,
So,
Terry,
And just for the record, Mike, contrarily, we would have had we missed a bid package that was the lowest one, I assume we would have rejected all the bids and this wouldn't be in front of us now, correct?
Or we would have recommended awarding to the lowest responsible bidder, and
Okay.
it just would have been a timing issue. That information would have gotten to you subsequent to the typical board packet delivery time, but either one of those could have occurred.
the RFPs, who sends out those RFPs?
Right.
Brian, do they have a disclaimer in there that we have the right to accept or reject a bid and waive any bidding irregularities?
yes,
We do, okay.
Yeah, we have gone to lengths to make our bid documents as consistent as possible. Rob,
That's why the supplier should come to the bid opening to make sure their bid is
I've
received.
never had one at cheerleading, so.
Okay. Anybody else? Mike, call the roll.
Commissioner Vanderschaft,
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel,
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Me.
Yes.
Commissioner Fiewiger.
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Action item number 4, RFP results and recommendation on the Arrowhead Restroom Project Engineering. I need a motion.
Move to approve the proposal from Engineering Resource Associates for engineering at Arrowhead Golf Course in an amount not to exceed $17,750.
Second.
Any discussion? Mike, take the roll.
Commissioner,
Oh,
So what was the grant amount for? Because this came in higher than we had budgeted.
the engineering portion of the grant, we calculated an amount for engineering. This engineering fee came in higher than the portion of the grant award that we told, who awarded the grant? DNR? DCEO we would spend. So it's not the whole thing is out of budget, it's just that engineering piece. So we need to make up that difference, and it happens because we do our best guess, and until we get a bid, we don't know how it's gonna be, or a proposal. We'll need to make it up within within alternates or deductions when the project comes in.
we have to give them a breakdown, Kim, when we fill out a grant application of our engineering costs, construction costs, and all of this. And since we don't know whether or not we're going ahead with the project, we don't have an architect on board, and we don't know what these costs are gonna be, so Rob and his staff put together a budget. And then we applied for that much money that's identified in the budget. So they guessed the engineering on this job was gonna be 15,000, it came in at 17. They've also guessed that the cost of construction is somewhere around 185,000. It may come in at 180, it may come in at 175. It may come in at over 200, whereas the board's gonna have to decide if we're gonna spend money over the grant or not once we put the actual project out for bid.
Okay.
All right? Anybody have anything else? It might take the roll, please.
Commissioner Fiewiger,
Yes.
Commissioner Me.
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow.
Yes.
Commissioner Schobel,
Yes.
Commissioner Vanderschaft,
Yes.
President Kelly.
Yes. Okay, reports from staff. Anybody have anything on the staff reports?
How do we want to do this? There are 3 reports. Do we want to talk about a report, or do we want to go by?
You know, I think since we generally don't have a ton of comments, if one person has the floor, if you have comments on multiple reports, you can go ahead, and we'll just kind of come down the line.
Okay, so I have something about Constantly Zoo here, Sue. There is some really good stuff going on at the zoo. Do you want to come up? The one thing I have to say, I really like how innovative you guys have been, and I especially love that you listen to the feedback from the teenagers about not being able to commit to a full year as part of the junior zookeepers, but yet still providing an opportunity for them to participate, which then I saw later in this document showed that we saved money because they were doing some of the activities that we previously had had staff do.
That's correct.
So that was really great. The one thing I do have a question on page number 46 here, you listed that we are trying to ensure our spending is consistent with industry. Do you have those reports or any figures from those that we could talk about to see how consistent we've been?
Yeah, I have them, but they're pretty complex documents. I'd certainly be more than happy to provide you with any information. I don't have it with me, but I can certainly get it for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to see, because you didn't make a recommendation or statement about how we do, so how are we comparing?
We're usually pretty consistent with our size facility, like considering also our geographical location, kind of looking at all those things. We're usually pretty much in the mix.
So, but yeah, I would like to look at those and see how we're
Absolutely.
fitting into that.
Sure.
The other thing I was wondering, so Christmas tree sales were just really great this year.
Yes, they would.
And one thing I'm wondering, how do we incorporate our gift shop or our donation tree in with that sale?
Well, the gift shop revenue does go to the foundation as well.
But are we promoting it at that event? Are we saying stop in,
Oh,
buy your gifts
Yes,
at the
absolutely.
gift
It's all
store?
marketing that Margie works on. We always talk about coming to stocking stuffers, and we also mention the wish tree in our newsletter and on our Facebook. And in fact, with the wish tree too, we actually have a online, through Google, they can go on and buy stuff online.
So do we have something like, as people are picking out their tree, that it's top of mind, that it's front and center, saying, oh, as you walk to your car, here's our wish tree, also consider purchasing some bird food for the birds?
We do have it, they have to walk by it, and when they go purchase, when they actually give us their money, so.
Okay, great.
When you buy the tree, you go into the gift shop and there's a list, right?
And then we put every time they buy one, it gets put up on the cabinet, and you can see all of them up there.
I have to say, I have a fake tree, so.
Can't find you.
We travel too much to have real, that just doesn't work for us. And the other thing I really want to commend you on is this Educators Day. That this initiative to contact everyone just to show the programs and to highlight the facility, that it looked like you guys really had a significant impact this year as far as education programs with our schools and everything. So there was some great stuff in here, and really excited about what you guys have done this year, so this was great. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have some general comments.
As long as Sue's up here, does anybody have any questions for Sue on the zoo report? As long as Sue's taking the podium?
So I know that we've only had the Bobcat exhibit a little less than a year, but has it met your expectations in terms of the attention that it's gotten from our visitors?
Yeah, absolutely. We've gotten a lot of great feedback, a lot of good comments on Facebook, and to the staff. We had great weather last year, but of course the spring hasn't helped us. We can't really look at the numbers yet as far as what we're bringing in, but we're gonna be starting a new program that's gonna incorporate a behind the scenes look, and we're gonna, with the Bobcats, and see how that goes.
They've adapted to
Yeah,
their
we're
environment?
still having issues with one kind of getting them in, but yeah, pretty much they have, so
Yeah.
they're doing very well.
Thanks.
Anybody else for Sue?
Very good report.
Sue, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Sue.
Can you, what, the other hand?
Well, so as I was reading all of these reports, the thought was coming to me as to how we could work more closely with our community partners, such as Cadence Health or Wheaton College. There are some great things that we could partner with them, such as the early childhood education, making certain that people who are having children at the hospital are aware of our offerings as far as early childhood. They're putting in a Ronald McDonald House over on the west side of the hospital, and it would be good to tell the parents who are staying there that we have these facilities where they could have a break and they could take their other children to the zoo, which is 3 minutes away, or to the mini golf, which is a little bit further, but something to help them relax and to make certain that they know about these things when they come to this community and how much we're supporting them at that time. The other things that I was thinking around Wheaton College have to do more with Arrowhead, and during Parents Weekend or graduation, do we promote, have your graduation dinner or party at our facility, have a golf outing, your last golf outing with your mom or your dad at our golf facility, and just things that we could do that center around what the college is doing, that we can bring in the families more to our facility. So. And then I did actually, I'm sorry Sue, and you can just stay there, I have a question. The weddings at the zoo, are we coordinating that with the wedding coordinator at Arrowhead to offer multiple facilities to our brides?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great.
Bart, do you have anything?
No.
Great.
Few things. In the general reports, I see under Wendy's report that we're meeting with the fire department, police department, school district about safety and emergency procedures. I'd like to be kept up to date as to what we're doing in that regard, especially with what's going on today, Boston.
We are taking a hard look in concert with the police and fire department at our lockdown procedures, our facilities from a safety standpoint, as public facilities, special events. Absolutely, we'll keep you in the loop in that regard. We actually have Chief Fields and Chief Burke coming to our next safety committee meeting, where we're going to report out to them our efforts in relationship to their last pieces of advice that we sought out from them. And they're very pleased that we've reached out to them in that regard, and Wendy and I do attend the School District 200 Safety Committee meetings, which is every principal from every school, police, fire, the parochial schools, and the concept is all of these facilities are A, public facilities, and we need to make sure they're as safe as possible, and B, could be used in the case of an emergency that is of a larger nature, where we might have to move people, say, for example, into the community center or into the Central Athletic Center, or from there to a school in the case of something tragic happening. So we're working very hard to be coordinated, and I will say that Wendy Russell has done an outstanding job in her other role as our safety manager on top of her aquatic facility management job.
With the early childhood report, Megan, very good report, thank you. I would ask that maybe, even if we get this report in May or June, it'd be more current, because we're looking at information for 2012, and we're ready in 2013. So even if you have to delay the report until May or June, so it can be more current, that would be appreciated. Also, on page 13 of your the report, talks about incorporating into the lesson plans items about cultural diversity and people with special needs and disabilities. I think that's fantastic. And to develop additional programs in the evenings and on weekends, especially for working parents. That's also a great idea. Thank you very much on that. And the Parks Plus Fitness report, I'll let Steve talk more about the Parks Plus Fitness if he so wishes. I enjoy it, I love it. I'm comfortable there. I'm pleased with the results of having memberships around almost 2,400. I think that's pretty good. And let's see, what else did I have? The equipment replacement plan. We started to implement one years ago. I don't think we ever really consistently followed through on it. And I do think it is a good idea to have an equipment replacement plan for Parks Plus. And it looks like you're allocating around $25,000. I don't know if that's enough or not too much, I don't know, but at least we're doing something to replace some of the old equipment that's down there. So I enjoy the fitness center, and I appreciate everything that's there, so thank you. I don't know if it's appropriate, and I don't want to lose the moment since I've got the floor. I want to thank Steve Fiewiger for his 12 years of
At least I don't have to come next month, right?
Yeah.
I was waiting till next month.
Ray's wanting to get rid of them early, I think.
Check
Serving
to
this
see if
community,
there's
so we don't just all of a sudden get up and we walk away and nobody thanks Steve for all these years of service, both as a staff person for the Wheaton Park District, working in the Recreation Department, as well as a commissioner. I appreciated everything he has done for me as an employee, and for me as a fellow commissioner, and for the community. Also want to congratulate Jane Hodgkinson for winning the election. Unfortunately, Steve beating you out. That's all I have.
You got a good one in Jane.
That's all I have, thank you.
Sorry, you son?
Vanessa, nice report, thank you. Just one question for you. In looking at the individual resident, non-resident rates, and I think we touched on this maybe a couple of years ago, but we are at the higher end of the individual resident rate, and we are at the highest end as far as an individual non-resident rate. Do you have any thoughts about that? And I know you don't set the rates, but do you have some thoughts?
You're talking in regards to membership.
I am.
Okay.
I'm sorry, was that?
No,
Do we have
he asked
another
me
one?
what you were talking about, and I said membership, so it's
Yeah.
just a little too low.
Should I go?
Yes.
Okay. It is something that we've discussed, and I know I don't set the rates, but it is something that Amy and Dan and myself have started talking about as far as what some of the trends, as far as other park districts are doing, as far as lowering portions of that non-resident rate to kind of keep it more in line, so that it isn't as astronomically high as it actually is. I know our membership base, even though we have a lot of communities nearby us, is only 3%. And I think there's room for improvement in that number a little bit. But I think the rates do impact that number as well.
Well, I'll defer to you and Steve, but you know, I guess it's comparability. And do we offer that much more than our neighboring fitness centers or our comp fitness centers that we can charge that much more?
I'd be happy to answer. I think our rates for where we're situated are fair and actually low. In comparison, I think you're using comparisons to other park districts.
I'm using the comparison that was provided in this report.
Okay, but the private sector is, I will tell you, is almost universally more expensive than Parks Plus, with a few exceptions of, but I think that the quality issue is there as well. I think if the board wants to take a look at our fee structure, that's certainly something that staff, we can take a look at through a much, I don't know, through a bigger magnifying glass, but we're not seeing a drop off and hearing that we're overly pricey.
I'm just looking at the comp data that we have here, so, and I'll let Steve address it, because he's certainly more competent than I am, but I guess, are we comparing apples to oranges here or apples to apples? So, yeah, if we're offering that much more than, the comparable fitness centers, then sure, then I would think that we should be charging more, but if we're not, then maybe we need to look at the rates. Steve, maybe you've got a comment?
Yeah, and this topic came up when Andy, Dan, and I met, and really, it's what do you want to be? What type of fitness center, what type of facility do you guys want to be? What type of membership base do you want to draw? I can tell you, I do think, and Andy and Dan and I talked about lowering, or looking into lowering the non-resident rate just to attract more membership. Don't know where you're at with that right now. I would recommend that you look long and hard at it, because if you want to be a 2,400 member club, then stay where you're at. If you want to grow, and if you have plans to grow in the future and develop a bigger fitness center, then you need to be proactive and do something about it now. I think the non-resident rate's overpriced, and I told you that when we met. You can get a 20,000 square foot gym for $19.95. So you guys got to figure out what your niche is and what you want to be. And then, Jane, you get the pleasure of helping out with that. If we're still on as it relates to this report, I thought it was a great report. I appreciate, again, you including me in it and making some of the necessary changes that I saw fit. I do think you still have a new member onboarding problem. Your personal training's flat. I look at the revenue being down $18,000 from the previous year. And then I look at your orientation process, which is totally for the new member, to get them involved in fitness, to figure out what their goals are and how to acclimate them to the gym. You're down $1,000 in staff pay for that. So are you just not doing that because you're trying to save money? Or do you not have the proper onboarding program to really get people the result they're looking for? And I don't think you guys can answer that question. I don't think you can answer it. You guys need to figure out what you want to do to onboard people. And we've talked about this for a while. And there's never been a real solution to it. And I think you're missing some great customer service opportunities. I think you're missing some great revenue generating opportunities. But, you know, again, I'd be more than happy to help you guys out down the road or talk to you about it. But until you decide what you want to be as a facility, what you want to be culturally, and what your identity is, these numbers will not change. They will not change. I've lived it, so I did like the report, though. Thanks, that's it.
Thanks.
John, I just want to make a comment, and I didn't want to see Megan get off the hook. Hey, Megan, nice report. Megan, you identified one of your recommendations for 2013 is working with the marketing department, you know, to try to secure more donations for Safety City and so forth. Do you have a target amount that you're looking for donations?
Good evening. I really don't have a target right now. Right now, we've always been, you know, whatever's built into our programming budget is what we use. Right now, we're exploring different avenues of where we like to take it, like back to School Safety City event. We'd like to see that grow, but I need donations in order for that to make it happen. So we're checking on, you know, different areas, things like soccer shots, which we're using for the Week of the Young Child this week, Happy Family Baby Organics, those kinds of donations.
So we've had donations in the past and they're diminishing, or?
We're just starting to get them.
Oh, I see.
Week of the Young Child, which is on right now, is where I've started to get a lot of my donations from,
Okay.
because it is a great marketing. Our ice cream social we just had over 400 people come to it, so it's a great opportunity. So if I can get those brought in on this week, then I can advertise them more and have them bring more in. And like Kim had mentioned earlier, you know, Cadence and Ronald McDonald, you know, those are the things that we can start bringing in. So.
Yeah, Safety City is, you know, it's a great opportunity and a great offering. I'm not sure if we're getting the most use out of it, but, you know, if that will help, I think that's great. The only other question I had is, you mentioned developing additional programs in the evenings and on the weekends. What are you thinking about?
Things such as adding a preschool day for the weekends, on Saturdays for working parents, more you know, classes for mommy and daddy and their child to come in, and as working parent myself, you know, it's a hard opportunity for me. Everything's, you know, at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So to have those opportunities, you know, at nighttime, you know, would be nice, and as myself, I sign up for them.
Do you have the staff to take care of that?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Mark?
I didn't realize you were asking all the reports. I thought we were commenting on what Kim was discussing all the time.
I
So,
said, well, just as long as you have the floor, you might as well go on them all.
well, again, kudos to Steve for his longevity and his service to the community. It's been an honor working with him, so I
I'm saving one of the next
concur Ray's
for you,
thoughts.
John.
But my action, I don't see Bruce here, so I guess it's directed to Andy. You know, I realize we're in a weather-related industry when it comes to golf and rounds played. Any thought, have you guys had any discussions on how maybe you might be able to make up some of those rounds throughout the year?
Well, I think a lot of, you know, obviously in the summer is the summer.
Right.
If we have a nice fall, you know, obviously it extends the time for golf. So if we do have a nice fall, you know, we can gain some rounds that way. Also too is based on, I mean, last year we didn't have much rain at all. So, you know, sometimes on the weekends, if it rained last year on a weekend, and it didn't rain this year, you can gain a little bit, but for the most part, we just have to hope for a nice fall to pick up some rounds.
Well, what I'm thinking about is that, you know, if, say we have the good weather, you know, and we have maybe a special event, maybe match play events, you know, for the guys that are playing on the weekends, to get them to come out, you know, during the week sometime. You know, is my thought, you know, something, you know, out of the box, something to generate a little more interest when we're in our say the days that we don't have, a full course in the summer. You know, why not look at those types of things?
Sure.
You know, I'm just trying to think of ways that we can.
I know that for golfers, there's a company out there called Golf Now, so where if you find out a day or two of some unused tee times, you can go to Golf Now and purchase some Arrowhead
Yeah,
greens.
we've used them in the past.
We've used them, but
usually it's at a discount, correct?
It's a little bit of discount, but if you're not gonna sell the time, it could be any time that we want, so it could be 6 in the morning till 7 in the morning, we could do something.
I get that, but I'm thinking of events that you guys come up with. There's a bunch of things that, you know, clubs put together, and I don't know why we don't think of those things, in my personal opinion. I mean, have special events that you've got a captive audience on weekends that are always looking to have a little game somewhere during the week amongst themselves. So why not do it on a group basis?
Okay. I'd be more than happy to talk to Billy and Bruce and see about putting something together during the week.
All right? I'll have to throw my thoughts in on that.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody else? Okay, subcommittee reports, you got minutes to all the subcommittee meetings, does anybody have any questions, subcommittee stuff, otherwise, as long as we keep getting minutes, I think everybody knows what's going on at these meetings. And general comments, I assume we just did those, so if nobody has anything else, I'll take a motion to
I
adjourn.
think Mike's got some.
I'm sorry, just a couple of things that you have in front of you. This time of year, a lot of things are beginning when the weather cooperates. If we have a weekend that creates outdoor activity happening, so there's the golf course, but you have a list in front of you. Go Fly Kite is this Saturday. A great deal of athletic programming is starting. If you want to take a look at the youth athletic programs and the organized chaos that the first weeks of that is, please stop by the facilities. As a follow-up to a previous report, I did receive concerning the DuPage County Liquor Commission. I did receive correspondence from Chairman Cronin that he will be recommending a Sunday sale starting time of 9 a.m. potentially for July 1st with the new liquor license.
Excellent news, Mike. That'll generate some revenue for us.
I believe the city of Wheaton is also exploring with the local vendors around here whether there's interest in that as well. And I shared with them the county was looking at it, so
Very
I
good.
think it's something that's gaining momentum.
Very good.
That's all I have, thank you.
Mark,
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Easy.